Hey folks, one other option, one of the framework options for week 6's responsive design homework can come in the form of Skeleton. Skeleton is probably the lightest responsive framework I've ever seen. It's very small. It's 400 lines of CSS. It's at getskeleton.com. I actually use it for a few of my web apps. I'm going to go ahead and download this. I can actually show you an example of innovation with Skeleton on my own website. If I go to mm214.com/race, this is an amazing race app for new faculty. Anyway, when I come in here like this, it's a very simple grid system. And I can click login, and basically I have a progress bar and a code for people to submit when I get there. But when I reduce, it's one column only, and it's got a fixed header and footer. But I use it frequently, especially for mobile, and it's very similar to the W3 code I showed in the homework advice video. So we've got this downloaded. Let's go take a look. I'm going to show it right here, and I'm going to drag it to my desktop. You got a lot already. So this is Skeleton, and it's been around for close to a decade, and it uses the exact same 12 grid system that I just showed in that other video where I'm giving homework advice. So hopefully we can go ahead and just close this and check it out on the inside my downloads folder. I'm hoping this is downloads. Let me pop this out. We can extract it right here. So once it's extracted, we can take a good look at it, and you're going to see the CSS, which is extremely small. And I'm going to open this with Sublime, and then I'll also open it with Chrome. But it's got the same viewport from our lecture this week. It's got it has a default Railway family from the Google fonts, but down at the bottom here, what we really want to see is skeleton.css. This is very, very small, and they list it with grid base styles, and they comment everything out, which is great. They have a container, which is a width of 100% and a max width of 960. Always a good sign. This code is very readable, very understandable. Columns themselves as a class have widths of 100. And then they have media queries for all the devices. So the way to use this, and I'll open this up in Chrome, is to go to the actual website. Now this is the We'll let this load for a second. Should be here. It's actually just set up as Skeleton, and when you go to the index, you're going to see hopefully something loads here. So let me go to my developer tools. Okay, there it is, the basic page. So basically, we always look at this. Yeah, the Google font didn't load, which is fine. Don't care. But when something like this happens and you reload, you can see. Yeah, see, there's the railway that didn't load. I use my network tab a lot just to make sure that all dependencies load. But when we go to the Skeleton documentation, it's actually right here. And I'm going to go ahead and close this out. Close this out and go right to the getskeleton.com, and we've already downloaded it. Now, as far as the code, I would be interested in the grid system. So this grid is 12-column fluid with a max width of 960, and it does shrink. And what happens is when it goes to the small, like this, we can go ahead and inspect. You'll see that there's a class of 1 that's going to be equal to 1/12 or 8%. So when we look at I'm not worried about the margin bottom. I'm looking at the actual HTML for this. So here we go. Div class container. That's what has the max width of 960 pixels, but a width of 100%. Now, 1 column and 11 columns, that's again a 12 grid system. So when I look at 1, that's going to be 1/12 or 8%, and the 11 will be 92%, or 9 times the 8. Let me see. So let me see. It's going to be actually 11 times the 8, which is 88%. So, and change. So each one of these rows is very similar in the fact that the row has a display of block. So you write the class as 2 and columns as the other class. So when we do look at this, okay, and we look at, I'm going to make sure we look at we inspect these elements exactly the way they are. So here's example column, the columns themselves, but we're specifically looking at this. If it's a min width of 550, it's 13.33%. But what happens when we make it smaller, like so? You see that it stacks, and now we can look at the 1, and that should be 100%. So it's the exact same thing as what we did with the homework advice. You have 12 columns with rows and percentages inside them. And Get Skeleton is super easy to use. You use it for simple layouts. And it has some decent documentation of how you can create items inside. So one quick look at the skeleton CSS again, and I'm going to look for the image tag. Whoops, I'm sorry. Control F here. Let me move this and I'm going to find the image tags, hopefully. And there should be something inside there that shows the responsive images, which is the auto height and width. So looks like we have, I'm going to scan down here. So we have these media queries, and notice how the min width progresses. So it basically starts at the lowest level, min width 400, and then grows to 500, but there's no max widths here. So these are your styles that you can use to create that layout, and it's all pre-built. So once you get the hang of the grid system, Skeleton's the next framework that I would learn. And the next video, I'm going to actually show you Bootstrap, but I'm going to do it based off of the W3 schools.